Tara, you're muted.
Yeah, Tara, you're muted. Right.
Tara, you're muted.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Okay, there you go.
How did that happen? How did I mute myself? See, all these things, the juggling continues. Okay, so this, I don't know if I told you, this is being recorded, and that's so that folks who registered can take advantage of your questions and my answers and our presentation later on their when they're free. So my name is Tara Short. I'm the founder of Green Adventures Tours, and I've been leading trips now for 14 years. It's hard to believe that it's been that long. And my very first trip was actually the very first tour that I offered was the Baja, Mexico trip. And to be honest, when I was introduced to the idea of taking people to Baja, I was living in Las Vegas at the time, and I pictured myself camping in the desert. And I thought, why would anybody want to do that? And little did I know that this slice of heaven was just right over the border. And it continues to be one of my favorite trips, one of our most popular trips for both our women's groups and our student groups. The people that we work with there are like our family. So for 14 years, we've all been, my partners in Baja and I have kind of been growing up together. So when you go on a trip to Baja, to La Paz specifically, with Green Adventures, you're not just going on a tour or a cookie cutter experience. It's like having friends pick you up at the airport and take you on a really, really amazing adventure. So I want to just take a moment also to introduce some folks that are part of Green Adventures. Christy, hilarious. Carrie Zigowitz, can you please wave? So Carrie is the administrative assistant for Green Adventures. So when you sign up for a trip, you get an automated email from We Travel, which is our booking platform. And then about 24, 48 hours later, you get an email from Carrie. And she just gives you an update on what's going on with our registration. So we do need to have critical mass in order to make trips happen. So with the Baja trips, we need 8 participants to confirm a trip. And I'll talk about that momentarily. So Carrie will let you know about the critical mass, let you know what's coming up next. And then once trips are confirmed, Carrie will be in touch with travel parameters, any documents you need to sign, if you're missing a payment or need help with a payment. She's the lady who's behind the scenes helping all of us at Green Adventures keep everything organized in the office. Tonight, she's going to be moderating our presentation. And if you have any questions throughout this presentation, I ask that you stay muted for now, put your questions in the chat or write them down. And then at the end, when there's time for questions, Carrie will read your questions to me, or you can ask yourself. And then also Kristen Haas is on this call, and Kristen and I have been working together probably, has it been like 10 years, maybe, Kristen? Maybe, yeah. So Kristen is one of our trip leaders, and for several destinations, including our Florida trip. She'll be leading the Galapagos trip this year, a Roatan trip, and she's leading one of the Baja trips. So Kristen, would you like to say something about leading trips in Baja?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you. Tara had asked me to tell why do I go to Baja? What's my favorite thing about it? One, I absolutely love introducing people such as yourselves to the amazing biodiversity that Baja has to offer. It is the only place on Earth where you can actually interact with the numbers of wildlife that we actually get to see, and not just see, but actually interact with. Get to play with sea lions, swim with whale sharks, and possibly kiss a whale. Who doesn't love kissing whales? And it's just amazing. And every time we go, there's something new and something exciting to see. So, and the contrast between, I think, the desert and the ocean is another thing that's just kind of startling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's one of the most unique places on Earth,
Yeah, I get it. Thank you, Kristen. And also on the call, and we're going to see if she has a moment to chime in, is Amy Lowe. Amy is one of our trip leaders and specializes in our student trips in Roatan and Baja. And Amy, do you want to share anything with our viewers?
Sure, really quick. I have led Baja trips mainly for students in the summer where we don't kiss a whale or swim with whale sharks, but kind of like Kristen said, the beauty is where the desert meets the sea. And I actually, the summer, I'm allergic to cold water, so it's a little warmer. And it's just amazing because you have reefs, you have reef fish, you have snorkeling, you have baleen whales, you have toothed whales like dolphins, super pods, you have, of course, the sea lions that we interact with. I mean, last time I went, we saw 2 super pods of dolphins. We were able to get in and snorkel with one of them. That literally a super pod of bottlenose dolphins. And it's such a contrast instead of just like, obviously I love coral reefs, but you have the reef and then you have all these marine mammals, which that's kind of, for me, that's what makes Baja unique. And for students, my favorite thing is that, and even for women, you can't have your cell phone. It doesn't work when you're camping. And it's just amazing that they have that disconnect. And I think, everybody needs that for a little while. And just unzipping my tent and looking at the ocean right there in the morning. That's it. That's all I need. I dream of it.
Awesome.
Nightly.
That's the disconnect to reconnect kind of a concept is a really good one to bring up because people ask like, can I get cell phone service at the camp? No. If you possibly can get a signal when we're out looking for the big stuff, which we talk about the megapods, the dolphins and the whales, sometimes you can get a signal out there, but for the most part, nobody can reach you. And that's good. That's good for a lot of people. Okay, so great. So now I'm gonna take you right into my slideshow that I worked on today for you, and show you some pretty pictures and some videos, and give you a better view, understanding of the destination. I gotta navigate here. How do you view the show? See what I mean? But all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Okay, here we go. I'll enable the media, please. Okay. So Green Adventures Tours, we are more than Baja, but we started with Baja. And now we have lots of destinations. Some of them are domestic. Our Idaho, Wisconsin trips and Wyoming trips, those were pivots from COVID. And when we were looking for things to do within the continental US, but we have trips that go to Alaska, Baja, Mexico, Costa Rica, Galapagos, Iceland, Trinidad and Tobago, which was on hiatus for a little bit. Now that one's back. Tanzania, Uganda, and I'm going to Peru in about a week to scout out Machu Picchu, and we'll be adding British Columbia, Northern Vancouver Island kayaking adventure. So those things are coming. But one of the promises that we have through Green Adventures is that, so let me take a step back. We work with 2 audiences. One are women's travel groups, and the other is student travel groups. And then we have trips for co-ed, like families or husbands and wives or friends groups, but we primarily advertise to women's groups and to student groups. Those are our 2 specialties. And both teachers and solo travelers can rest assured knowing that you have friends on this trip. So we're going to give you support from start to finish. You're going to have packing lists. You're going to know entry requirements. You're going to have suggestions for travel insurance. You're going to have somebody available to answer questions before your trip. We have a Facebook group that we will have everybody who's on the trip will be in that Facebook group, so you can kind of get to know your trip mates before you travel. If something happens on site, there's a Green Adventures trip leader on every trip who will help you with any illness or accident support. And we'll be there to take you to the airport and say goodbye. So we're with you from start to finish throughout your trip. And our mission is to help people fall in love with wild places through extraordinary eco-adventures and to protect people, places, and ecosystems through sustainable tourism. Now, the way my company kind of came to be born is because of two things. One is this idea. I was just, all of the trips that you see on the Green Adventures website are basically my dream trips. And I have been lucky enough to create these adventures. And then I find people who want to go do them with me. So a lot of the destinations start off as something that, I need to go do this because this is something I dreamed about. And once I get there, I'm like, everybody needs to do this. And so I never go on vacation. I'm always bringing people to new places. And one day I found this cup that says, live the life you imagine. And on the cup, which you can kind of see here in this image, is actually a picture of a mermaid and with some sea creatures. And it made me think of this picture with me with a sea lion for my very first time being in the Sea of Cortez, having these up close encounters with big marine life, the stuff I dreamed about. But Green Adventures also came from an ethic. So when I was 18, I read the book, The Sand County Almanac by Aldo Leopold. And he was my environmental hero then, and he is one of my environmental heroes now. And those of you from Wisconsin can totally relate to, the Aldo Leopold love. But he said, we abuse land because we see it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community to which we all belong, it's then we'll begin to use it with love and respect. So when I was designing trips as an environmental educator, I knew that my role as an environmental educator was to teach people about connections. But one of the things that I always knew was an element that I wished that I wanted to know how, but like I knew I couldn't teach people this. We have to show them, we have to facilitate it, and it's to love a place, because when we love something, we'll want to take care of it. And so this land ethic by Aldo Leopold about seeing the land as a community that we love and respect is a deep thread in the mission of what Green Adventures is. So Baja, Baja, Mexico, as seen from satellite, is about 1,000 miles long. I think I might have some automation on this, unfortunately. It's about 1,000 miles long and 100 miles wide, and it's one of the most biologically diverse marine systems in the world. And here is one of the places that you can. There's over 800 species of fish. That's competition to the Galapagos and the Caribbean. So there's over 800 species of fish here, and you can swim in the wake of hundreds or in the wake of just one, which is the largest fish in the world, which is the whale shark. There's 1/3 of the world's marine mammals can be found here, including the fastest of the baleen whales, which is the fin whale, but also the largest of animals on Earth, which is the blue whale. And it's a little early in March to see these blue whales, but we can see them. Our best chances are usually April and May is the opportunity to see blue whales. So blue whales, 100 feet long. Their hearts are the size of a Volkswagen car. Like I said, the largest animal on Earth can be seen just right in our own backyard, basically. We also have the opportunity to possibly see tropical orcas that visit the Sea of Cortez. As Amy pointed out earlier in the introduction, there are megapods of dolphins. So we have bottlenose dolphins, there's long-beaked common dolphins, Pacific white-sided dolphins, and occasionally we see them in ones and twos, but when we see these megapods, when you have multiple groups coming together to feed and to socialize, and we're the only boat out there, and it's quiet, not even the breeze is blowing, and you turn the engine off of the boat, and all you can hear is their blowholes and the squeals. And sometimes when they come out like this and they breach, or they head slap or tail lob, you're seeing behaviors that are natural and wild, and you have a front row seat viewing it all. There's lots and lots of birds, several hundred species of birds, including blue-footed boobies, which are one of the very few places you could see them in North America. And we have brown pelicans and hawks, cormorants, and frigate birds. And thousands of invertebrates. I say they're spineless, but we love them. They are the what adds the color to the reef and gives us the opportunity as we're going over in between rocky crevices and looking under ledges, looking for sea stars and lobsters and octopus and nudibranchs. And coral reefs are here. And this is what is one of the things that gives the Sea of Cortez the life that we that am I back? Okay. Let me just, I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, you were like breaking up.
Okay,
Stopping,
but
glitching.
so I'm back here at coral reefs now. Can you see?
I don't see anything. Does anybody else see?
Okay,
Your
okay. No,
screen
I need to share my screen. Sorry.
Yeah.
Also, we may want to have everybody turn off their cameras because it decreases bandwidth and sometimes that'll help it from breaking up.
Yes, please do
Okay.
that. Thank you, Kristen, for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Play from current slide. Okay. So everyone, like, give me a thumbs up. Somebody, somebody should stay on. Maybe Carrie can stay on. Give me a thumbs up.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So what gives the one of the factors that helps make the Sea of Cortez such a biologically diverse place are coral reefs. Coral reefs are generally on the eastern side of land masses in North America, and there's in the Sea of Cortez, we have the conditions that are just right to have reef building corals on the western side, which would typically be too cold. But these corals provide habitat and food and breeding ground for many of the marine life that will eventually go out into the open ocean. 70% of Mexico's seafood comes from the Gulf of California, and many of those animals start their lives on the rocky shores and in the coral reefs. Another factor that helps give the Sea of Cortez its biodiversity is that there's a lot of food. And the reason why there's a lot of food is because there's a lot of sunlight. It's at 23 degrees north latitude, which is perfect for getting direct sun. And that sun is food for plankton. And that plankton is what attracts the big animals. And is also food for, many of the other animals too. But then also we have these upwellings. So these offshore currents that bring cold, nutrient-rich water from the seafloor up to the surface, creating plankton blooms. Those three things help make the Sea of Cortez one of the most biologically diverse marine systems in the world. And so, as I was mentioning earlier, I had my own misconceptions about what it was like to be in the desert, to be at the desert, and to I guess, what would it be as biologically diverse? I pictured it as this kind of a wasteland, but it's not. The land itself, the deserts are second in biodiversity to rainforest. And right below the water line, like I said before, we have this living laboratory to explore. And what I love about Carl Safina's quote here, he's a conservationist from the Blue Ocean Institute. He said that it's an easily accessed place to marvel at wild abundance. And that's true, right in our own backyard. You don't have to travel 24 hours to get to the other side of the earth. You could just travel 4 to 6 hours and be at the Gulf of California, the Sea of Cortez. So here's our 8-day itinerary that we focus on. So as I showed you early on, the Baja Peninsula is pretty long. It's 1,000 miles long. It's made up of 2 states in the Mexican states. There's Baja North and Baja South. We are in Baja Sur, and Baja Sur's capital is La Paz, but the most popular airport that services Baja Sur is Cabo San Lucas. So we have, so this is, if you look at this outline here, this is where the airport is for Cabo San Lucas. This is, actually, this is our old route. I'm sorry. We now go up this Highway 1 instead of going this way along the coast. But so we head up Highway 1, which is faster. We go to this is La Paz, which is the gateway to the Sea of Cortez, and Espiritu Santo Island, which is right here. So in this area is where we see the sea lions. In this area is where we will snorkel with whale sharks. So this is all Sea of Cortez. But on the Pacific side, not the Sea of Cortez, is where we go see gray whales. So we will leave La Paz, drive about 3 hours north, and we go to Magdalena Bay, which is on the Pacific coast. And that's where we'll go out into the bay to see the gray whales. Now, this itinerary is our spring and winter and spring itinerary. So basically February, March, and April. Our summer trips that we do with the student programs, they are focused just on Espiritu Santo and La Paz. Occasionally we come down to Cabo Pumo. So I know we have a couple teachers who are interested in and are watching this. We can talk about what the options are based on the time of year that you bring your students. But for the purpose of this presentation, this is our 8-day trip that we do every March and February for women's groups, student groups, and our co-ed trips. So air travel, you fly to Los Cabos International Airport. If you fly within the start and end dates of our trip, we will be right there to pick you up. And I say that because some people like to come in early. So if you come in early, I'll give you directions and suggestions about what hotels to stay in and how to get to them. And then we'll tell you when we're picking you up on that travel day. All major airlines go to Los Cabos. It's about 4 to 6 hours from most US cities. The cost is about $500, $800 round trip. I gave a big range. $800 is pretty expensive, but depending on when you book your flight, like if you book it maybe a week before you travel, or if gas prices stay high, I just wanted to give you a big range. We do provide travel parameters. Typically, we tell people to arrive no later than 1:30 on day 1 and depart no earlier than 12:30 on day 8. And if you are not comfortable booking your own flights, I have a travel agent that will help you book your flights. Entry and exit requirements to Mexico are pretty darn easy. You just need a passport valid for 6 months past your travel date. And there are no COVID restrictions right now, and Green Adventures doesn't have any COVID restrictions. The only time we will start enforcing those COVID restrictions are going to be if the country is requiring it. If metrics spike, we might start asking people to test prior to travel. Travel insurance does cover COVID-related illness. So if you got COVID at this time, so if you got COVID and couldn't come on a trip, for example, travel insurance will reimburse you for all your prepaid costs. And then State Department advisories. Right now, Baja Sur has I think it's a level 3, maybe reconsider travel. We don't cancel trips based on State Department advisories just because of advisories. We use many, many different sources. We have our local partners. We talk with other operators. We investigate many, many avenues, including being there ourselves, because we found that the State Department advisories tend to be, I don't know, pearl clutching, for a lack of a better word. So it doesn't mean that we're not conscious of safety. It just means that a State Department advisory doesn't mean a trip is canceled. Where do we stay on this trip? So we stay in 3 different types of accommodations. We spend 2 nights at the Hyatt in La Paz, which is kind of our start and end of the adventures. We do 4 nights camping out on Espiritu Santo Island, and we stay 1 night in like 2-star bungalows that are up by the whales. So you get a little bit of everything. You'll always be comfortable and well fed. And these are the highlights of a winter and spring trip: snorkeling with sea lions, snorkeling with whale sharks, meeting gray whales. I mean, this is the trifecta. Who would want to do this? When I see this, the little kid in me is like, I got to do it. If you were the person who dreamed about big animal encounters, Baja is the place to do that. How do we get around on this trip? Mostly by boats. When we do the land transfers, we're in 15-passenger vans, but when we're going between dive sites, we're on boats. The boats that we use for like whale shark snorkeling, out by Espiritu Santo Island, I should say, the boat we have for 4 nights and 5 days, that boat has a bathroom on board. When we go see the gray whales, we're sitting in pangas, which are open. I'll show you what that looks like. They do not have bathrooms, but the main thing is we are on boats the majority of the time when we're doing our activities, because it's all water-based. And with the water temps, we're going to be, at this time of year, we're looking at 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. We do give people 2 millimeter wetsuits to use, and you get all your snorkeling gear provided for you. If you are a person who gets cold, you may want to bring a 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter rash guard to layer under your wetsuit, or you could bring a 1 millimeter wetsuit to layer also under your 2 mils that we're providing. The daytime temps are about 70 to 85 degrees, super pleasant compared to early March in the Midwest, for example, where it's pretty cold and snowy still. Nighttime temps get down to 50 to 65 degrees. So nighttime can be chilly. So I want people to know when they come on this trip that you are going to have sun. It's going to be lovely, especially if you're coming from a northern state, but it can still get cold at night. And because you're outside or on the water, that wind can make it feel even colder. Those of you who are considering a summer trip, temperatures are about, let's see, water temperatures in the summer can get up to like 75 degrees. They could be 68 to 75. Daytime temps could be in the hundreds, but you're doing water stuff all the time. And nighttime temps can be in the 80s and 90s during the summer. Here are some things that we provide you a very detailed packing list, but these are some things that I found that are essential. A rain jacket, not because of rain, but because of like sea spray or wind blocking capability. A good rain jacket is necessary. Fleece pants, like thick fleece pants for being around camp at night, or if you are someone who gets cold, you can put those on after you're in the water. A fleece jacket. Crocs are good, or some sort of slip-on are good for around camp, because flip-flops and like sandals like Tevas or Keens, the sand is not fine and powdery, it's more grainy, and that can like get into the straps of your sandals and cause blisters. With Crocs, you can wear socks with them. You can wear socks with your Crocs. Would be barefoot. And then also there's on here rash guard. So a rash guard is just basically like a Lycra or sports style tight fitting top that could add extra insulation. But the top and bottoms, like running tights and this Lycra top, can help you when you are putting on your wetsuit. Because I mean, if you're a lady like me, I've got some curves, and getting wetsuits on sometimes are a challenge. They're supposed to be not super tight, but tight enough that they trap water into your body and you keep that warm. If your wetsuit is super loose, the water just goes right through it and it's not working for you. But if you have this rash guard top and bottom, that's going to help you slide your wetsuit on better. And then also I put on there the Scuba Pro shirt there at the bottom right is more of an insulated 1 millimeter type rash guard. So a rash guard that's like a 1 mil or a 2 mil, it's gonna be about $100. But a rash guard that is just a Lycra shirt is you could probably get that on sale for 30, or if you get like a name brand one, 80. But those are some things that you should have on your trip, but they're also on the packing list. Some optional things that you could bring: binoculars. If you are someone who likes birds, you may want to use your binoculars in the morning for around camp, looking at the birds like in the canyon. If you like to take pictures underwater, GoPros are great for taking pictures of sea lions and whale sharks. GoPros are good for in-your-face action, and they take amazing video. So a GoPro or something similar would be a good thing to ask for Christmas or the holidays or your birthday. I put two snorkeling masks and snorkels down here at the bottom. We do provide you with rental snorkel mask and snorkel, but some people prefer to have their own, especially if you wear prescription glasses to see, and then if you can't see without your glasses, you're going to need prescription lenses. And we'll provide you with a link on where you could buy prescription lenses. Again, they don't cost that much. It's like $40 for a mask that has a prescription lens in it, and then maybe $20 or $30 for a mask for a snorkel. But please do not bring the snorkel mask that's on the left. Those full face things, those are dangerous. People have died wearing those because they trap your carbon dioxide. So yeah, please don't bring that. Only bring a traditional mask and snorkel. And then there's a pair of gloves on there. So the gloves are for when you play with the sea lions. Now, sea lions have teeth like puppies. They're very sharp. So if you want to engage with them, you wiggle your fingers and they'll come at you and nibble on your fingers. But these gloves aren't like, steel, so their teeth can go through them. The idea is to give you a little bit more protection. You actually shouldn't be sticking your hands inside their mouths, but I know that it's sometimes you can't help it, and they're right there and they're interested. So it's calculated risk. But I do suggest you bring some form of gardening gloves that will just help you from some surface abrasion. Okay, so the first place we go on the trip is La Paz, and La Paz is really just our stopping point to adventure. It's known as the gateway to the Sierra Cortez. It's got over 200,000 people. It is the capital of Baja Sur. There are hospitals there. There's a lot of expats who live there. It's got a beautiful boardwalk with amazing sunsets. And it's also got colonial structures like this church that was built in the 1500s, and some nice restaurants. So that's what La Paz has to offer. We don't spend a ton of time there, but it is a good lily pad, if you will, to adventure. This is the Hyatt where we stay, a 3-star hotel, has all our creature comforts. But we go up to Espiritu Santo Island to get our access to the Sierra Cortez. Now, La Paz is 26 miles away from our camp on Espiritu Santo Island, and this is heaven, really, heaven on earth. So there, over the years, our camp has had to change based on permits and yeah, where we can get the camp set up based on what the parks permits are allowing. So it helps to know that Espiritu Santo on the map is actually 2 places. Isla Partida, which is in the northern part of Espiritu Santo, and then Espiritu Santo proper is this bigger part on the right. At high tide, they're separate. At low tide, they're one. And we may have a camp over here at Ensenada Grande Beach on the northern portion, or we could have a camp here at El Candelero. So we have them at both places. Both places are really beautiful, but it's too soon to say right now where our camp is going to be. But on the island, we have Los Islotes, which is where the sea lions are. So that's up here by the north side of it. This is all like turquoise bays, shallow bays, and on the right side are all steep rocky walls. So we spend most of our time here on the western side. We have, as you're going out, you'll see that this island is a volcanic island, and you could see lava flows or ancient lava flows. You can see compressed ash. You see these beautiful rosy hues and quartz hues and feldspar. It's very striking. And also, depending on when, if the sun is setting, the colors change all the time. You might see mobula rays jumping. These are cousins to manta rays, but they do all sorts of cool acrobats. And sometimes you see one, sometimes you see 100. And even in March, sometimes they come a little early. They congregate for mating. And you could, like I said, you could see hundreds of them. And we've jumped in the water and snorkeled with these. But this is what it looks like when you pull up to camp. The tents are already set up. The kitchen area is set up. And these will be your homes for the next 4 nights. Inside the tents are 2 cots. There's a lamp. There's a little nightstand. And each one has an ocean view. So you go to bed at night listening to the waves lapping on the shore. You wake up in the morning, you hear birds. It's really, really beautiful. And again, La Paz is known for its 365 sunsets, and you can experience that from right on the beach on Espiritu Santo. We like to call it a 1 billion-star resort because the skies are so clear. We'll go out and look at the different constellations. So our kitchen is run by, we have our cook and then support crew, and you will eat fresh food every day. We have breakfast is usually eggs and sausage or pancakes. Lunch is always fresh fish. But if you don't eat fish, there's a chicken option or a beef option or a vegetarian option. And then evenings are a little bit of everything. It could be American, Italian. Our dining area, this is what it looks like, when we're having meals. And then our dining area turns into our classroom at night. So we do slideshow presentations. Students will do trip reports. Adults will do tequila talk. So, it's kind of like, it depends on the audience. But I know what you're thinking. Where do we go to the bathroom? And there are toilets just down the beach, and they are like marine heads. So you go to the bathroom and then you pump use a pump lever to push that your stuff down into a bucket, and then the crew removes the bucket. But it's like going to almost a real bathroom. And our showers, so in the summertime, the solar showers are great. In the wintertime, springtime, it depends on how much sun there is. And solar showers can be quite chilly. So there's a good chance that you may only do a freshwater rinse versus doing actual showers while you're out there. But it depends on your style. I get cold easily. So there's a lot of times I just do a freshwater rinse instead of being cold. From camp, we do kayaking. We'll do 1 or 2 kayaking trips. It's a great opportunity to get, to see a little bit more of the shoreline and to see some of the invertebrates that are creeping along the rocks, like these Sally Lightfoot crabs. We do hikes where you learn about the different plants. Some have medicinal uses, some have funny folklore. You might see critters like the Espiritu Santo anole. There's the Espiritu Santo jackrabbit. And then, of course, our main activity is snorkeling. And we don't just throw people into the water like you would on a cruise ship. Like, here's your mask and snorkel, let's go snorkeling. We do a snorkel school on day 1. We teach you about all the different, no matter if you have 1,000 hours in the water or if you are a beginner, we start from beginner level. We talk about the different gear. We talk about, some water safety. And then we go to knee-deep water and we make sure our masks and snorkels aren't leaking and working properly. And we see that you can float comfortably. And then we snorkel on a shallow coral reef that's in the bay. And then eventually we get you doing what's called the giant stride off the back of the boat, where you hold on to your mask and snorkel, slide your fins to the end, and take one giant stride into the water. And then we will snorkel various habitats depending on the wind and water conditions and participants' skill levels. Those of you who want to learn to free dive, we have weight belts and we could teach you how to hold your breath and dive down, or you can be right at the surface. So diving down or at the surface, you're going to see schools of fish like these king angelfish, which are one of the most colorful fish on the reef. Or you might see big schools of grunts. Grunts get their names because when they feel threatened, they grind their teeth in the back of their throat. And it makes this grunting noise. That's how they get their name. But during the day, they stay tucked into those rocky reefs in like just resting. And then at night, they head out over the sand flats to go hunting. These are like the garbage men of the sea. These are surgeon fish. Surgeon fish have these 3 little scalpels near the base of their fins here. That's how they get their name. And they use that to defend themselves. But these guys will snorkel around, they will swim around the reef eating like the decaying matter. But they're also opportunistic. So if there's like a spawning event or a dead fish, they'll take advantage of some protein. The main event, though, is to snorkel with sea lions at Los Islotes. Now, Los Islotes is this, it's a little, 2 little tiny islands, like that's what Los Islotes means, little islands. And it's a rookery. So these sea lions not only breed there, but they live there all year. And they've had people coming here to snorkel with them for 20 or 30 years. So they're very familiar with people. It doesn't mean that we can let our guard down and get close to big bull males who are like 1,200 pounds. We go there to snorkel with juveniles. So juveniles are between the ages of 1 and 3, and they're playful just like puppies. And they will, well, I'll show you what they'll do. But with these sea lions, it's fun. Like what you're going to miss in this presentation, though, that I'm going to try to fill for you, is that when you pull up to Los Islotes, it's automatically like a sensory experience. It stinks. Okay, because there's so much guano around from the blue-footed boobies that are on the top of the rocks, and then and cormorants. But then also it's loud. So you have like the male sea lions you recognize right away, who are like, and they're sticking their head up, and they're patrolling their water near their harem, and then you hear. And that's the females calling to their babies. And then you'll hear a response, which are the babies responding back to their mothers. So it's this multi-sensory experience. and like, and when you get in the water, immediately you can hear the vibrations of, you can hear them. They're making their calls underwater. You can hear brine shrimp snapping. You could see parrotfish crunching on rocks and hear that. It's cold, so it's a little bit of a shock. But that's why we do all those other snorkeling experiences, so that when you get into Los Islotes, which is the more challenging, you feel comfortable with your gear and you feel comfortable with your skills. So sea lions, these guys they're sea wolves, lobos marinos, and they are just like puppies. They have very tactile, they're very tactile with their mouths. So they like to mouth their surroundings in order to discover, and sometimes mouthing your hands or mouthing your snorkel, climbing on your back, mouthing your fins, or humping your leg are all things that sea lions like to do. But they are just so adorable and so much fun to play with. And so here's an example of what it's like to have a sea lion coming up to you. And let's see here. So so the pictures make them look very still, but in person, they're constantly moving and constantly trying to nibble and be mischievous. Like this little juvenile here. So you see, he's probably only like 2.5 feet long, and he's very interested in my fins. And you can see the gloves I'm wearing. So sea lions are different from seals in that sea lions have external ears. You'll see when he comes by, he's got a little ear nub, versus seals that do not have that. Also, sea lions will walk on pectoral fins versus seals that undulate. And so you see, we're just kind of floating and we let them come to us, and some are more friendly than others. We do have people wear life vests at the sea lion colony. You don't have to wear life vests when you're snorkeling in other locations, but that is just so you can be seen easily at the sea lion colony. Again, who would want to do that? There's lots of giggling that goes on, and and you can kind of hear the, whoops, that's Tanzania, that's tomorrow. So after all our snorkeling each day, we will go look for the big stuff. And that's where we go, like right before sunset, probably around 4 o'clock, to go look for dolphins, whales, whatever we can see near camp. And here's again a version of that, megapod that you can see just right off the island. And here's what it looks like when they're right off the bow of the boat. These are bottlenose dolphins, Pacific bottlenose. And when you're standing right above them, you can hear this. You can almost hear it now if I quit talking. The squeaks and squeals. And depending on the mood, like some of them will ride in the bow wake and like do flips. Most of the time they just hang out right here at the front of the boat. Sometimes we see humpback whales. We see false killer whales, pilot whales, and the other ones I showed you at the beginning of this presentation, blue whales, fin whales, minke whales, bride's whales. So these are all baleen whales that are pretty common just right here in the Bay of La Paz. So finally, the last snorkeling experience would be to snorkel with the whale sharks, the largest fish in the world. The whale sharks that come to La Paz, though, are juveniles. So they're going to be anywhere from like 15 to 25 feet versus like a 60-foot, full sized female shark. But these are still pretty darn impressive. And whale shark snorkeling takes place when we're on our way back from the island. So here's Espiritu Santo Island. As we're coming back to La Paz, we do whale shark snorkeling here. It's a sanctuary. It's highly regulated. You have to have a wristband. There's entry and regulated entry. So we work with the park to make sure that we have an entry time, and then we go in and we go look for these whale sharks. So it starts off by being at the back of the platform like this. And the captain is motoring around and your other guide is looking, around for the sign of a whale shark, which is usually like the fin coming out of the water, or you can see its tail. And these guys are baleen, they're filter feeders. So not baleen, but they're filter feeders. And their throats are the size of a golf ball. So they're gentle. They're not going to eat you. And they just they're sharks because they're cartilaginous. They're not bony fish. And the whale because they're large. They're not mammals. But so you sit on the back of the boat, and the captain's looking for a whale shark. And when they see one, your guide will be at the back of the boat with you. You'll have your mask and snorkel on. And when he or she sees that the whale shark is in the right spot, he'll say, get in the water, and you slide in the water. No giant strides. You slide in because you don't want to scare the whale shark. And then once you get in, it'll be murky at first. And then all of a sudden, here's this big head coming at you. And it's like a freight train because it's moving fast. And sometimes you have to get out of the way. And as you kind of roll away, you just see like this huge fish swim right past you. And here's kind of what that experience is like. So when you're snorkeling with whale sharks, you basically can snorkel with them as long as you can keep up with them, because they're moving and you have to kick alongside. See the giant tail? You're not allowed to touch them. You've got to keep 3 meters from them. And notice the spots. The spots, that's a form of camouflage, but that's also how whale shark researchers will identify individuals. And so they are keeping track of individual whale sharks that come into the Bay of La Paz and their migration patterns. Another identification for this whale shark is its dorsal fin. You see that it's been hit by a propeller. This is why whale shark snorkeling has become extremely regulated, because there are so many boats out there, and they found that 80% of their whale sharks in the Bay of La Paz had some form of boat strike. So this is how they are protecting them. And if you're lucky, you might be able to see whale sharks feeding on the surface like this. Instead of cruising along, they'll be vertical in the water, feeding right on the surface. And you can look right down the throat of a whale shark. You see there's no teeth. Isn't that amazing? I think I'm stuck in the YouTube. Sorry about that. Well, that's Iceland. Okay, so now for the final amazing thing you get to do on this trip is to go see gray whales at Magdalena Bay. The order of operation that I've shared with you are not necessarily what's on the itinerary, but it makes sense in terms of the flow of a presentation, talking to you about the Sea of Cortez, because now we're moving to the Pacific. It's likely that on our trip in March, we will do the gray whales first. So we go to La Paz, then we go up to the gray whales, come back down, take a boat to the island, 4 nights on the island, final night in La Paz, then go to the airport after that. And so we go to Magdalena Bay to see these gray whales. And here's that map again. Here we're in La Paz, 3 hours north here to Mag Bay, which is an estuary. So it's a mix of freshwater and saltwater lagoon, which is where these gray whales migrate from Alaska every year to mate and to give birth. And there's several different points. Sometimes we go to San Carlos. So if there's not a lot of whale action up at Mag Bay, up in Puerto Lopez Mateos up here, we sometimes go to San Carlos. So we do pay attention to the whale activity and might have to adjust based on where they're at that time. The whale watching is, we say that if you see a gray whale, we have success, right? You have had the opportunity to see these beautiful animals in their natural habitat, and most likely you'll see them at least this close. They like it when you splash in the water. The babies tend to be attracted to that and come and they're curious and they'll come up to the boat. But these are the types of boats that we're on, and we spend anywhere from 3 hours at a time to 2 hours at a time out looking for gray whales. We can't harass them. We can't chase them. We have to give them space. And these encounters are supposed to be encounters that the whale chooses to have with us. And they initially started because this bay used to be where they did whaling. So whales were hunted here. And the gray whales would actually charge boats and break boats to defend their young. And then in the 70s, the story is that a fisherman was out and a gray whale came and rested its head on the bow of his boat. And he knew that whale was just as curious as he was of them, that they are just as curious of him as he was of them. And this started a movement that helped local fishermen, instead of fishing these wetlands, basically, to instead become tour guides to take people out to see gray whales, which protects gray whales and also protects the habitat, which is also estuary for many birds and fish species and invertebrate species. Mag Bay is bordered by the Baja Peninsula and this huge dune island called Magdalena Island. And on the island, there's coyotes and frigate birds, blue heron. And then we see more than just gray whales in Magdalena Bay. We also see Pacific bottlenose dolphins too. So your whale watching experience is different every year. One of the things I do try to say though is the pictures you see of us with gray whales are all things that have happened for our tour groups. And there have been a couple of years where either the gray whales were late coming or they left early. And a lot of this has to do with their food availability. They're finding that gray whales are having to migrate further north now to find food because of warming sea temperatures. Touching a whale and interacting with the whale is not guaranteed, but you're highly likely to do so. At least 1 or 2 people on the boat, but it will be a very magical experience, even just to, like I said, see these whales. One of the groups last year got to see a mother and a calf. They just stayed with her for about 30 minutes while they slept, and they came up to the surface and came back down. They got to see the baby nursing, and they were just 20 feet away, and just a peaceful experience with these beautiful creatures. And also sometimes you get a 40-foot mother who wants to come up and get rubs on her rostrum too. And to be able to look into the eye of a whale is certainly life-changing. And to see their baleen up close, I stuck my GoPro in the water, and this is I call it baby gray whale has the spins. So it was just neat to see this little gray whale underneath the boat with its mom, and you can see how big the mom is right there, and she's right at the surface getting pets. And it's just such a joyful experience. Look at that. And this one was definitely one of the closest encounters I've ever had, where this mother comes right out of the water. You're basically look how close her baleen is. So yeah, that's Magdalena Bay and gray whales, and it's definitely worth your time and effort to go there and have that magical experience. So Puerto Lopez Mateos is basically a end of a dirt road at this little sea town next to a sardine plant, and so there's not a ton of options there for lodging, but we have a nice place. We have people stay. We stay at Whale's Nest. There are these 2-star bungalows. They're clean and they're unique. People think they're cute. So yeah. So that's the trip. Our dates for 2023, our co-ed trip is February 23rd to March 2nd. So that's open to men and women. We have 2 women's trips. I'm leading the women's trip March 3 to 10, and Kristen is leading the trip March 11 to 18. If you have a private group So say if you have 10 of your family members and you want to do your own private departure, or if you're a teacher who wants to organize a student group, contact me for available dates. For our trips, we do, like I said, I told you early on, we need a critical mass of 8 participants to run the trip. And once the trip is confirmed, we send out travel parameters. If you've signed up and there's only 4 or 5 people, we ask you just be patient. You're going to see that I have early bird pricing, and that early bird pricing is incentive to say, hey, I know that those first 8 people to sign up or first 6 people to sign up are the reason why we have this trip. And I know you have to wait in order to, have the trip happen. So here's a financial incentive to sign up early. It's super rare they've ever to cancel a trip. I've never had to cancel a Baja trip. So that's good. And the only reason I've ever really canceled trips that were due to COVID in the past, or COVID restrictions during the 2020, 21. But no one was ever like in a situation where they booked airfare or anything. And then we have a Facebook group. We'll put you in touch with, we'll put you on the Facebook group so you can meet your travel buddies. They will eventually give you a pre-tour packet. So we'll tell you all the instructions for when you get to the airport, who's going to be there to pick you up, what the plan is for the day. And then, yeah, we'll see you there in Baja. Here are the early bird prices. So if you sign up before October 15th, the price is $29.95 plus airfare and gratuity. If you go to greenadventures.com, you can see all the inclusions and exclusions. Pretty much everything is included. All your meals from dinner on day 1 to breakfast on day 2. The only thing it's not included is gratuity, alcoholic beverages, airfare, and your travel insurance. And then you can see the price goes up the longer you wait. The deposit is $700, and we do installments, so you don't have to pay all that up front. And if you have questions, you could always find me at greenadventures.com, or just reach out via Green Adventures and Carrie will respond, or I will respond. Okay, so we covered a lot. Now let's take some questions. Carrie, do you want to go over any of the questions?
There aren't any.
No,
We
really?
don't have any questions.
What? Oh, it's in the chat. So many great things. Oh, I see. Okay, so does anybody have any questions?
Scott says it was pretty thorough.
Okay.
How much money should we carry?
Well, fortunately, you could, credit cards are accepted everywhere there and are preferred. So it's either credit cards or Mexican pesos. US dollars are sometimes hard to get change for, especially at the Hyatt for some reason. So I don't remember what the gratuity is for this trip. So it would be gratuity and then maybe $100 or $200 emergency cash. The rest could be credit cards. Make sure you call your credit cards ahead of time and tell the company and tell them that you're going to be traveling and where you're going to be traveling, so they don't flag your credit card when you're traveling and then you can't use it.
Scott, as the prices you listed did not include airfare, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
And for student groups, if any other teachers are listening, what we do for student groups is that we will, because they travel as a group, we can contact our travel agent, block out 10 to 16 or however big the group is seats and have that set aside. And then when it's time to book, then we put it on your package price. And so when we advertise for student groups, it's the package price with airfare. So there's no surprises. But with adults, you're all coming from all different areas. So it's better for you to pick the most economical route within the travel times that we provide. Any others?
Oh, it looks like that's it.
Okay.
Assuming you do spring break trips with students.
Yeah, we do. You should just contact me and let me know what your spring break dates are, because those are different for groups, for student groups. Hi, Robin. Robin went to Alaska and she just said hi in the chat. Hi back at you, Robin. Hopefully you'll come to Baja. Oh, great. So like, if you just need a break, let's just, the question is, are you not, I can see the chat now, Carrie. So
Okay.
if you're not well one day, are there alternative options? So at the camp is our home base for those 5 days, 4.5 days. And you can choose to, if you don't want to go snorkeling, you can choose to not. You could stay back at camp. You could use the kayaks and paddle around the bay. Some people like maybe will rest during the morning and then come out for the afternoon activity. So that's where you have flexibility. If, for example, though, like when we, well, with the gray whale experience, we drive up. If we're going to go out and see the gray whales and you choose not to go out for that first session or whatever half day component, there's really not much to do, but you could be comfortable back at the cabins until we come back. Are there any opportunities for scuba diving? It depends, and I need to have it. I take it one group at a time, based on staff availability for offering scuba. So it's not always. I don't always have enough dive masters to work with beginners to do like 8 Discover scuba divers. But if there was a group of like 3 to 5 certified divers, we could work with that. So if you're interested in scuba diving, Scott, we can talk about that separately for our, because you're dealing with a group. But if we're talking about our individual bookings for our women's trips and our co-ed trips, those times of year are a little hard to work with based on staffing. And the conditions aren't always good for diving in the spring. Any others? These are great questions. Well, I really did try to cover all the bases, and we've been doing it for a really long time. So, like I said, this is my 14th year offering the Baja trip, and I can I feel like this is a well-oiled machine. The gray whales, usually we've seen the gray whales stick in. The question is, when do gray whales leave the bay? They tend to leave mid-April. The best times are usually late February through mid-March. But we have had good gray whale watching experiences in late April too. Any others? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much again for taking time to listen to our talk, and thank you for sticking with us through the little technological hiccups. I hope that we've inspired you, both myself and my team, to come check out this beautiful location. It's if you look at the reviews on the Green Adventures website, you'll see that Baja is one of those that has lots of reviews, and it's as Kristen and Amy both said, the wildlife encounters are just unbelievable, and it's hard to believe. Well, it's hard to imagine that you can do all of that in 8 days. Great. Well, I will let you guys sign off. I'll stick around if anybody has any other questions. But thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you in Baja.